Okay, it's 9 o'clock. Let's get going. So today we've got it. We're gonna focus in on three areas. The middle part of this segment, which is going to be Casey. I'm really excited about. We actually JK2 and I. JK2 actually was looking at some different things, and he sent me a text and he said, hey Dad, I'm just, he was telling me about the numbers he was looking at, and so we ended up creating a graph and of Casey Gregory. Now I know Casey started out in like the spring, but I said, hey, just let's run a graph from June through the end of December, and he did, and it was pretty awesome. So I'm going to dive into it a little bit here in just a minute when I bring Casey and JK2. JK2 is going to share the screen. He's going to share the actual graph that we did. And then I've just asked Casey to kind of just launch into it and really, like, let's slow down. We're going to give him plenty of time. Okay. But I just want to slow down, and I really want to hear Casey's thought process on what that graph actually reveals and some of the things that Casey's learned, some of the changes that he's made. But here's the thing that's undeniable. It's undeniable that he's gone out primarily on a $5 lead, and he's gone out and he's created one incredible, profitable track record. So I think in this graph that you're going to see today, I think we've actually even added January to that, which really makes it only better. So I want to get started today, and this call. It is being recorded. Whether we post it or not, I don't know, because my desire is that I want this call to be a step above. Like, I really feel like in this season, just to let you guys know, the thing that I'm praying for every day right now, I go through these 40-day prayer times where I really focus my prayers, and I'm praying right now for breakthroughs on personal profitability. I'm praying for breakthroughs on growth. Okay, and for God to lead right people, not right people, into our culture. And I'm praying for breakthroughs with agents and agent profitability. Okay. So that's sort of led to my desire today to really step up. And on this leaders call, I just really feel like there's so many people that are on the verge of going from struggle to not struggle. Okay. And I just want to highlight a few things that I see. Okay, so let's have this discussion on leads. Okay, so we have to get to a point. Bill Martin teaches this really, really well, probably the best I've ever heard it. But we have to get to a point from a team standpoint that we really understand that the whole game, when you look at lead-driven sales, okay, any company out there that creates a lead, we have to get to the point where we understand what that actually is and what it isn't. Okay, you get out of the marketing. In other words, you want to remove yourself from the marketing of the lead. Listen, lead providers. I was actually having a discussion with a lead provider. It was not recent. I think it was last year sometime. And I just said, look, like, I need for you to know something before we continue to have this discussion, okay? You're talking about your lead being the best. Let me just tell you something. That's not true, okay? You, based on the sheer law of response rates, you create people that respond to your lead type. Everybody else does too. So don't tell me your lead is better because it says something or doesn't say something, or somebody can flash up somebody can link in this way. Okay. They don't have to fill it out by hand. They can call a 1-800 number, or they can, okay. They don't have to fill it out. They can actually send a pigeon. They can tie notes to its foot and send it out. Okay. It doesn't make it better. So we have to get to a point, and I'm going to try to calm my voice now. This is such a passionate thing for me. We have to get to a point where we look at every single lead the exact same way, which is it's a person who wants a freaking death benefit. That's all. I don't care if it's mortgage protection, final expense, life lead, internet lead, direct mail. I don't care about it. It's a name and it's a number, and it's somebody that wants a death benefit. We have to get out of this being like, do I work final expense? Do I work mortgage? Do I work ETHA? We have to get out of that. And here's what we have to get into. We have to, if we want to become a top producer, through our powers of observation, we have to start doing what listen, I was on the phone with JB and Bill Martin this week, and when you look at the top producers in all of Equus, and you combine those with all of the other IMOs out there, all of the top producers, there's common denominators, there's characteristics that are true amongst all top producers. And we have to get to a point where we recognize that. And I will tell you, one of the top characteristics of consistent top producer, I'm not talking about the person that every 6 months makes it into the top 10. I'm talking about when you look at the leaderboard, this coming in Orlando, Florida, there's going to be a yearly leaderboard that's posted of everybody's personal production in all of 2025. And if you take the top 15 to 20 and you go, hey, I'm going to study the characters, I'm going to spend my entire 2 days in Orlando, and I'm going to target those top producers, and I'm going to go interview them. I'm going to go ask them questions. What lead type are you working? And here's the thing. I'm not worried if it's final expense, digital. I want to know what's your percentage of A leads that you're working versus inventory leads. And here's what you're going to find. Y'all ready for this? Drum roll, please. Okay. Drum roll. I'm thinking about Christmas Vacation, Chevy Chase, Blah, 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 blah. Here's what you're going to find. There are no consistently top performers that don't work an overwhelmingly majority amount of A leads. It is what now, why is that? Well, I just think can a top producer work inventory leads? Theoretically, yes. But I'm getting ready to tell you maybe why they don't. I think top producers at some point in time, they develop a tremendous amount of trust in leads. It just like lead vendors have a tremendous amount of trust in response rates. Okay. Every single lead vendor knows that if I mail out 10,000 pieces of something, or if I mail out 100,000 pieces, the law of large numbers and the law of response rates, I'm going to get X back. If I sell X at this amount, I make a profit. That's what lead vendors do. Top producers in lead-driven sales, they do the same thing. If I invest X amount of dollars in X amount of leads and they're A leads meaning they're newly created. A leads versus inventory leads, newly created leads versus leads that are not newly created. Okay, now I'm not going to deal in the timelines of those. Okay, one lead has a tremendously high close ratio meaning lead to appointment. And then the inventory leads have a lower close ratio. The A leads typically have an 80+% close ratio lead to appointment. Why? Well, a number of the biggest reason is they just completed it. They just, like, whether it's a direct mail or whether it's QR code or whether it's IVR, they responded recently. And so you calling them up it's just it gets a higher appointment ratio versus inventory leads, which I don't care what type of inventory lead. I don't care what metal they put in front of the bronze, diamond, I don't even know all the names anymore. Mortgage protect, final expense, life, they all, based on the age and based on large numbers, they all tend to have a 5 to 7% close ratio. Close ratio meaning the amount of leads that you get to the appointments that you set. Okay, so do y'all understand do y'all understand this conversation so far? Okay, lead vendors, how do they create leads? Trust in numbers. How do top producers create these bigger incomes? Trust in large numbers. The difference in A leads versus inventory leads is simply how much time do you want to spend booking appointments? Because I'm going to tell you, a characteristic of top producers, they book their own appointments. They don't have an appointment setter. They book their own appointments. And if you ask them why, I think that would be a great question in your interview to ask these top producers. And by the way, before I even get the question, how do you identify top producers? Well, Equus right now on social media, for the last couple of weeks, they're posting all of their top producers and what they did last year, how many families they helped, what was there. And so you can go look at Equus and you can start picking out those names. Okay, I need to wind down this, but this is, to me, this is so, it's so pivotal. It's such a pivotal understanding for so many people to go across the threshold of suck and struggle to really developing a rhythm of a top producer. Okay. Can a top producer work 5 to 7% close ratio leads and become a top producer? Yes. Yes. Can people that are brand new that don't have any money, they want to own their own business, but they don't have any money to invest? Do you guys understand this is a real business? And people that come into this business and they don't have any money to invest, you're behind the 8 ball. Doesn't mean you can't succeed, but can I be honest with you this morning? Most don't succeed. Most people that don't have the money to invest or don't have the trust to invest, they don't succeed. Why? Because most people won't work a 5 to 7% close ratio lead long enough and putting in enough time daily. I think Deanna Cooper's got one of the most incredible success stories on the 5 to 7% close ratio inventory leads that I've ever heard. She didn't want to change. Her upline, who's a friend of mine, he tried to get her on A. She was like, I'm not gonna pay that much money for leads. I'd rather. But she, guys, and I reminded Bill Martin of this week. I said, Bill, you do remember how much time she was spending on the phone every day? And Bill was like, I'm forgetting. I said 8 hours. Deanna Cooper, you want to know why Deanna Cooper makes the amount of money she makes? Yes, it's lead investment. Yes, it's lead investment. But there's just not very many people I've ever seen that have that work ethic. I'm not going to dial inventory leads for 8 hours a day. Guys, you can say 8 hours, like 8 hours. But I really want you to sit down from 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 or 7 to 3. And I really want you to dial for 8 hours. Just do it one day. See what happens. It's a pursuit of happiness, Will Smith playing Chris Gardner type of a thing. It's like most people just won't do it. They just won't do it. So having this big boy, big girl discussion on leads, I'm just gonna kind of close it down by saying this. if you're working inventory leads right now, I hope that you create a plan to start getting off of the 5 to 7% or making all of your money off of the 5 to 7% close ratio leads and really starting to up your investment on the A leads. And again, I don't care if it's mortgage protection, finance, it doesn't matter. A lead is somebody that wants a death benefit. That's it. Don't get hung up on anything else. Well, these people, they answer a QR code. It doesn't matter. These people, they dial a 1, it doesn't matter. These people, they fill it, doesn't matter. There's a close ratio that is set. It's not theory. It's set on A leads, and there's a close ratio on inventory leads. Now, transitioning. The thing that excited me about the Ethos lead was that Ethos, I mean, it was just different than any other lead that we had. These people didn't respond to a direct mail piece or a digital ad. These people, well, they responded, they went to a website and they started a life insurance application, and we get to somehow buy that name and number. Whether you buy it fresh, and that's been the phenomenon about Ethos leads, is I think Casey can make an argument that his close ratio has been higher on the 90-day leads than the 30-day old leads. It's just crazy. Now, is this a call? Is this me right now promoting Ethos leads? No. And Casey's success on Ethos leads, I think, is a pathway for a lot of our new people that go, hey, I'm tired of, I got into business to stop struggling financially. I'm ready to do whatever I got to do. Okay. And Ethos, what Casey's done in the last year, almost coming up on a year, what he's done, I mean, really could be your path. And so he's going to teach on that. But if there are any questions about leads and about lead types and about your investment, I want to have that conversation with you. I want to have this conversation more. I just feel like there's so many people out there struggling and they're not investing enough in leads. Or they're not investing enough time in booking their appointments on the lower close ratio lead. And what it does is it creates this perpetual not enough appointments every week. And not enough appointments every week, the number of appointments that you do weekly is what creates your deposits. Not how good you are at life insurance sales, not anything else. It's the number of appointments you do. And again, common denominator of top producers, they'd rather spend less time booking more appointments. Okay, I'm 3 minutes over my time. I promised myself I wouldn't go over 9:15 on this. But guys, I'm telling you, I'm just sitting here. I could go another 30 minutes. Like, this is so important to understand in the success of your business. Now, here's what I'm going to challenge you with. Figure it out. You figured it out your whole life. You're here for a reason. God didn't lead you here out of just like, hey, let's just see what they do over there. No. There's a specific reason that you're here. There's a specific reason you're at Cornerstone. There's a specific reason you're in the life insurance industry. There's a specific reason you're here in lead-driven sales. So you have to figure out how I'm going to set a limit. I'm going to survive the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. I'm going to survive on inventory leads because I'm going to discipline myself to dial as much as I need to dial to book my 4 to 6 appointments a day. Okay, I'm going to do that. But I can't sustain that pace forever because I know me and I'm just not going to work that hard forever. So I've got to transition into a better quality lead so that I spend way less time booking my 4 to 6 appointments a week. Now, whose story is that? Connor Jones' story, Deanna Cooper's story, Tanya Hughes' story, Ashlyn Hughes' story, all of those people that you're seeing, Taylor Rumbo's story. It's all their story. What did they figure out? They figured out what we just talked about. Okay, JK2, I'm shutting up. Put up the graph. Casey Gregory, thanks for being on today. Dude, take as much time as you want, slow down, and dude, what you've done over the last, again, coming up on about a year, I'm thinking it was last March, April, something like that when you made your move. But what a track record that you've created. I do want to say this, okay? I would love to create this graph, and I would love to spend 10 minutes with every single producer on what their graph looks like. And I would, so if you want to do this, I want you to reach out to me via text, because I want to put up your graph, because this tells a story. And it's more of a story that it's going to tell you, and you're going to take counsel from it. So JK2, why don't you just maybe explain the graph, and then Casey Gregory, take it away.
Sorry, I had to come back and unmute myself. Let me come back. There we go. So this is the updated one, JK, that I did the other day, and I removed some of the stuff, but and it tells a story. I don't think you can see it at the top, but in the blue was what Casey submitted um each month to the insurance carriers. And then
Production.
yeah, production. And then the orange is what was approved by the insurance carrier.
Paid.
And then and I can pull up the other one too, JK, because you can kind of tell the stories with the apps, the submit ratio, but and I'm sure Casey's going to highlight December and January, why that was a little bit different than the other months as well, on the standpoint of what he changed. So I'm gonna shut up now.
Yeah,
Okay.
so when you're looking at this graph here, it really tells it takes me back to last year. Um, and we were coming off getting a bunch of at the time we were like working incomplete IVRs. Nothing wrong with an incomplete IVR. Sold plenty of them. Uh, mortgage protection loans or mortgage protection mailback leads are still non-existent, and I don't even know if they are now. So we're really searching for something that we could be consistent with. And somehow or another, I don't know if it was John who mentioned it or whatever, we got turned on to these leads, and I'm not even sure how or where now. But we started working them and just realized that these folks that had gone to this website were looking for insurance and didn't get it for one reason or another. And then in my mind, I just thought, well, why can't we just call them up and say, hey, I can help you with insurance. I've got options that you didn't see online. Would you still like coverage? And people go, well, some of them will go, yeah, I would. And then just have a conversation. And so when that light bulb went off, I was very excited. As you can see, going into the summer, the submit was higher, and then the issue paid was a little bit lower because people were saying, give me $1 million. I'm like, all right. Well, if you haven't done a whole lot of this before, getting $1 million policy in a week's time is kind of difficult, even if you're very healthy. Because if you're having to do a paramed exam, it takes time. And then the insurance companies are notorious for coming back and saying, your triglycerides are a little high. I think we're going to have to make your payment this. The point is this, and John, I think would agree, we're not in that business. We're in the simple issue, non-paramed, get you covered, immediate coverage in the next week at max. That's what we're in the business to do. So started realizing that and started telling people about paramed exams and why they didn't want to do it if they didn't have to. And so we kept going.
Hey,
Now,
Casey,
yes.
let me just pause you right there because what you just said is so important. We're not telling people that you can't write 1 million or 2 million or 5 million. We're not telling you you can't go down the route of doing a paramed. I think all of us, especially those of us working ethos leads, at some point in time, we have to do that. But the change that you made that I absolutely love is you absolutely got sick and tired of the whole insurance game enough. And I'm going to tell you, I'm there. I'm there with a client right now. Okay. But at least you're stopping long enough and saying, hey, let me explain what a paramed is. Let me explain the risk of doing a paramed. Parameds are designed by life insurance companies to prove that you're not healthy or to prove that you're not going to pay the preferred rate. Does it mean you don't get it? No. Some people get it. But you at least need to owe it to your client to explain the difference in simplified issue versus paramed. Okay. And understanding, like Casey said, it is the business that we're in. We're in the business of getting paid. We're in the business of getting people approved, not telling them what's wrong with them. Okay. So if we want to talk more about that, or if you have questions about that, or if you're one of those people of, are we doing the right thing for the client by not trying to get them, $8 a month cheaper by getting them the ultra preferred rate? Okay. Well, I'd love to have that conversation with you. So go ahead, Case.
Yeah. So just to kind of, we're rocking along, we're getting used to these things. We're trying to figure out the verbiage and develop some consistency. And then in the fall, September, October, we end up selling our house. We're moving. We moved 15 miles down the road and production slips. Why? Because I took my focus off of what I was really doing, even if it was for a good reason. And I'm so happy that we're here. That's where that dip come from. And then, Thanksgiving, and then all of a sudden we're waking up and going, what are we doing here? We're now settled in this house. We're past Thanksgiving. Christmas is coming. And what we decided to do is double our lead investment. And
And,
so,
Casey, when we were looking at your graph, you remember me pointing that out to you because I'm
yeah,
like, hey, dude, follow the year. Sond. September, October, November, December. Sond. Those are the best months, like hands down. You should make like over 60 to 70% of your income and sales in those months. It's crazy good, but those were arguably your two worst months, and you immediately knew exactly what that was from.
right.
I will just tell you, in the world, and listen, don't get offended by this, but as leaders, we need to understand it. Okay. In the world that we're in of being a CEO, we have to understand there are the most distracting things on the planet. Number one is you having a health issue. Okay. You want to make a case for working out and eating right and getting your weight down. You don't want to go through a personal health issue. It will shut your freaking life down.
Yep.
Number two, moving. We telling people not to move? No, I'm just telling you when you move, you're going to be distracted. Okay. Yeah. Number three, getting married. Okay. We telling people not to get married? No, it's telling you it's distracting. Having a baby. We telling people not to have babies? No, I love babies. Okay. But I'm just telling you it's distracting. So as CEOs, if we're able to point to distractions, then if we can point to them and recognize them, we can manage them. So go ahead, Casey.
Yeah. So anyway, we came into the between Thanksgiving and Christmas, doubled our lead investment, made more time to dial. Actually, we were doing the virtual office by then, I believe. And even if I was on there by myself or maybe one other person, or two or three, it doesn't matter. I had this planned time where I was going to be on camera, which for me makes me more diligent. And even if it's just me, for some reason, me staring at me, I make more dials. I'm more focused on what I'm doing, and so I really love the fact that we started doing that. Um, so yeah, staying focused, and there were two other things that kind of join into what we're saying here, John. If you don't mind, I wrote them down because I didn't want to be unclear. Um, and at the time, when you're getting ready to go into a meeting, everything seems a lot clearer until you start talking. So, um, if you're a new agent, or even if you've been here a while, and you look at your life in your business, and you're not actively on the phone, and you're not writing business, I could guess a couple of things because I've been there. Number one, your life's not uncomfortable enough for you to push past the uncomfortable of buying leads and making consistent dials. And the CVO or the VO or whatever office you want to be in is a place, a safe place where you can do that. We didn't used to have that. Now we do. Until your life is more uncomfortable, you won't ever do it. I heard a couple of agents on our VO the other day say, "Well, I'm just not comfortable doing that yet," whether it be buying leads or whatever. Usually it's leads. Until you decide that you're going to get uncomfortable, you'll never have the umph behind what you're supposed to do it, and your numbers will reflect it. And you're going to be the only one that you can blame for that result or lack thereof.
Yeah.
And I just remember in 2016, and I became a single parent. Okay. I had kids, a truck, a mortgage, groceries, and I stood on the patio and I thought, what am I going to do? I'm brand new at this. I don't know nothing. I had a license. I was scared enough to make dials, which I did not want to do. And I finally got past the scared to do it enough to where I had some success. And then I took that little bit of success and built on it and prayed a whole lot. And so I can promise you, if I did that, anybody on this call and people that chose not to be on this call for their own reasons can do it if they want to. But you better get uncomfortable, because if you're comfortable, you're probably not going to have the success that you're looking for.
What questions seriously, guys, look at the graph. We're looking at now in the first graph that John did, he had this, which is submitted production versus paid production, but he also had submitted apps versus paid apps, which I love that visual. But I mean, this is where the rubber meets the road, because you're looking at production versus submit. I mean, submit versus paid. So you're looking at so what questions do you have about what Casey just talked about, and about this track record of Ethos leads? If anybody has any questions, they can raise their hand and we will unmute you.
And while we're waiting on that, would you just say, John, would you agree that lead purchase and time spent on the phone is really where the rubber meets the road on this thing? We're not talking about splitting atoms here.
And that's just it, Casey. It's okay. So how much time do I have to spend on the phone booking my appointments? Okay. Well, the lead type that I invest in, A lead versus non-A lead, will determine that. So am I going to be like Connor Jones? Am I going to be able to book my 4 to 6, 7 appointments a day basically on the phone for an hour, or an hour and then going to lunch and going to the gym and then coming back and doing my appointments from 3 to 9? Or do I have to spend 8 to 10 hours a day booking my appointments and kind of working double shift, right? So it's, once we book the appointments, whether you book your appointments off of inventory leads or A leads, it doesn't matter. Once you book the appointments itself has its own close ratio, which tends to be about 35 to 38%, right? So, and those numbers are guardrails for us. If we're below 35%, we really need to take a look at our what we're doing. Okay. But if it's above 38%, I promise you it won't stay there for long. Okay? It'll just average around 35, 38%. But once you've booked the appointments, guys, we all write life insurance on the same people. Okay. And let me tell you, these people are not people that don't want to buy life insurance. These people are not people that it's like when you get somebody that wants to buy life insurance, the process is easy. They want to buy it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, and Casey, tell me if I'm wrong. Call me a bold-faced liar if I'm wrong about this. The majority of people that we help, they're not people that we sell. They're not people that, oh, let me tell you how I got on the phone with this person and I totally changed their thought process. And no.
The assumption is
go ahead.
They're already ready. They're already looking for insurance. You just have to make the connection with them so they trust you enough to give them or to give you the information you need to properly underwrite it. That's really it. So once you finally relax your attitude about it, hey, I'm Casey Gregory. I know you don't know me, but I own a brokerage here, and we help a lot of folks who go online and look for insurance and didn't find it. Are you still looking for coverage? What's threatening about that? Nothing. They're either looking for it or they're not. Oh, and I've even had people say, "No, we already found something."
Yeah.
Hey, I'm really glad that you did. Just letting you know, we've got 20 some odd sources that we can make sure that you get the best coverage for the best price. I'd love to help you have that conversation if you would like to. Oh, okay.
Love it.
You can turn them around too.
Casey, just talking about what we were just speaking on. There's so many people that, man, they do fight to book the appointment, but they don't book enough appointments to find the people that want to buy. And so the few appointments they do each week are really with people that really they set the appointment because they're bad to the freaking bone at setting the appointment. Give yourself a pat on the back. Like, we've got some people that set appointments with people that like they don't want to do an appointment, but you're so good you set an appointment with them. Yeah. But you get frustrated because you're only doing 2 to 3 appointments a week, or you're doing way under the number that you need to do, and you're like, nobody wants to buy insurance. People I talk to, they're not healthy. That's not true. What's true is I'm not booking enough appointments to write my 3 to 5 applications. So, hey, Derek Uwazi, you got a question?
Yeah, thanks, John. JK2, can you pull up that graph again? I just have a question, Casey. So I noticed there's a gap between your submitted cases and approved cases. Have you been able to analyze, why what factors may be affecting
which particular gap are you talking about?
The blue line versus the yellow line,
Which month?
Say September.
Yeah. When you submit big cases that take forever to get approved, that's going to cause a big gap like that.
I felt that too. So my next question, Casey, is what tracks do you use to kind of like manage expectations of clients to switch from, they want a big case to a smaller case, or do you just let them go? How do you pivot effectively?
Certainly don't let them go. What I do is, I had this happen not too long ago. I had a guy that wanted $1.5 million in coverage. Why do you want $1.5 million? Well, he had this whole long, and I was like, let me tell you something. I appreciate the fact that you want $1.5 million and you're healthy. Here's how we're going to avoid some problems and get your coverage faster. Let's get $500,000 submitted application based on what you're telling me about your situation. I think we can get that done in pretty short order. And then after that, we can submit another application for another $500,000 and build it like that. How does that sound? Versus, let's do $1.5 million all at once, and in 60 days we might have an answer, and your chances of getting this rate that we're submitting it for are kind of 50-50, maybe less. Which one would you like to do? You want to go ahead and get 500,000 now or nothing, and hopefully we get something and we work it out? Well, let's go ahead and do the 500,000 now, and then great. And that's how come their gap's less now.
Very, very smart. So do you do that like at the jump at the beginning of the appointment or after they've been declined for the fully underwritten
Oh,
and
no,
you
no,
try and
no,
give it?
no. No, we don't go through the process of getting them declined and then go back. We're talking about on the front end. We're
Yeah,
talking
okay.
about, I don't ask them how much coverage they want anyway. I mean, they may tell me, but that's rare. Usually that's rare with these. They'll just say, I'm looking for coverage. I'm like, great. If you're like most people of whatever age they are, you're looking for somewhere between 100 and $300,000 worth of coverage. Is that the case for you? Well, yeah, I think so. Oh yeah, most people want to pay around 100, 100 and a half for coverage. Is that kind of what your budget is too? Yeah, yeah. Or no, I was thinking if I could keep it under 250, I'd be good, but I want a 500,000. Okay, great. So we're going to do it to where you don't have to have a pyramid. It took us forever to get on this call, right? So, I mean, to make another appointment, to have somebody come out to your house, you don't want to do that, do you? No. You're leading them down the path
Mm.
of what you
Love it.
want them to do. So yeah, and you can do that with just anybody that you talk to. But I think, Derek, you definitely want to do that on the front end.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks, Casey.
Certainly.
Love it. All right, Bill Kreider, what's your question? Hang on, Bill. Hang on, Bill. Okay, what's your question?
Derek asked the one question that was pivoting from a large request down to a smaller face issue. I had one observation, and it was that even in your small months, in the September and October, you would still issue paying over $10,000 a month. And it looks smaller compared to the others, but it still was an awesome situation in terms of volume. And that came from the activity earlier, the 3 or 4 months before that.
Bill, that really comes into an important point. And everybody's financial need every month, whether it's your business or your personal or all of it together, which most of us, it's all together, is different. Some people's might be $20,000 I need to net to even break even. And some people's might be 10,000 or 5,000. So that's a part of it. But the other thing was we had a kind of what you would call a glass ceiling, and we think about the language. John, you're always talking about the power of the tongue. And I was sitting here going, I don't know how I'm ever going to get over 30 grand issue pay. I just don't. And the woman that is the president of our company put her hands on my face like this, and she goes, "Don't say that again." And I was like, "You got it. I got it." And so, telling me that, I started saying, I'm so grateful today is a 10K day, because your brain will start working on how we get in 10K.
Yeah.
You don't have to start thinking about it. You already told your brain that. And one more thing, I have these affirmations right here, which John has, I know, but we got a long double-sided list of them, and I read these things. And the days that I don't read them accidentally or whatever, I forget or get busy, they're not as good as the days that I do. There's power in the tongue. And so now we've hit 30,000 over 2 months in a row. And so it's just a foregone conclusion that that's the baseline. And so language matters.
Yeah. And ultimately the graph and good point out there, Bill Kreider, but ultimately the graph, the overall story it tells is even through distractions, even through the invariable fully underwritten apps that we have to write, especially if you're going to work ethos leads, virtually not ever if you're working mortgage protection or final expense. But what it shows is that he's by and large taking a $5 lead and he's creating a a really good $220,000 to $250,000 income off of those. So anyway,
I did want to say one thing about you talking about appointments. Do I set appointments occasionally if I have to? Am I counting on them answering the phone when I call? Nope. You need to try your darndest to set on these things when you got them on the phone.
Yeah.
And if you can't, just know, don't get frustrated if they don't answer. Just keep going after them. And if you have a CRM, use that. But keep calling them. Keep calling them. It doesn't mean they don't want coverage. It just means that they're busy and you're not a priority. So you got to be the squeaky wheel. Don't get too upset if you set 6 appointments, because they're good at saying yes to those. And then you call them and they don't answer. Just know that they identified themselves again. Yes, I want insurance. Yes, I want to talk to you, but you're going to have to catch me when I'm not busy. So please just know that.
And see, and here's the thing, that right there is a little nuance in working this $5 Ethos lead.
Yeah.
So Ethos leads are great. Why? Because they only cost $5. Ethos leads are great. Why? Because somebody went to a website and started a life app. Ethos leads are, yes. But what's the downside of Ethos leads? I think by and large, why do people go to that website? I don't know. Maybe you're going to deal with more health challenges. Maybe people think that, hey, man, I got diagnosed with cancer, but I'm going to try to get me a life insurance application on Ethos. Or I'm a procrastinator. Why didn't I complete the life insurance application? Because I don't complete anything in my life. I started it. I just never got back to it. You book an appointment. So what I'm saying is that Casey's, your foresight should now come from Casey's hindsight. Learn from his experience. And what he's telling you is that a nuance of working the Ethos leads is, to the best of your ability, try to move it forward while you're on the phone with them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And anybody on this call and it's not are welcome to join us on our VO. I just as always, just come to work, have it, just be just like if you're walking into a brick and mortar building. Okay. And I answer any questions you want. We can work together. This isn't some sort of just for our folks or anything. So you're welcome to do it. Let's just get to work.